Alright, ladies and gentlemen, Fab's in the house. And today I've got the Spyderco Paramilitary 2 with me. And usually we're gonna analyze the look, the sound, and the feel of this beauty. But first of all, let's just do a quick size comparison. This is up against your PM3, as you can see, smaller version of the PM3. This is up against your Benchmade 940-1. As you can see, handle is quite similar. 940, it's smaller, but as you can see, like cutting edge, it's packing more. This is your ZT0562, and very similar handles, a little bit packing more cutting edge as well. And this is your Spyderco Spidey Chef right there, and up against your Sebenza large Sebenza 21. There you have it. And just because it's same family, your Paisan integral awesomeness. All right, let's get started. So this is a really popular knife. Like it's unlikely you don't know about this guy. This is in S110V, so it's different than the S30V steel that usually you get when you buy the base model. So this is a little bit fancier steel, but everything else would be the same. This comes with this Blurple G10 scale, as this is like a sprint run. It's not the normal version, let's say. Design-wise, it's very interesting because it always reminded me like a frog, like this bulging eye right here. I don't know, it's just something that I always thought about the PM2. This is a compression lock. So you have on this side, on the back, basically like your liner, all right, which has a spring tension, all right, so it's pushing up this way, and the blade, as you can see, has a notch right here in the tang. So when the blade rotates up to this point, hitting the stop pin, the liner just springs up, inserting itself into a notch right there, therefore locking the blade in place. So basically it's like a frame lock, but working in reverse and from the back. So it has some drawbacks, but also some advantages. Like, for example, you will never have, for example, like in this case of your like frame lock in Spidey Chef, as you can see, you have the lock right here. So you have to stick your finger in the cutting path, basically. So you don't have this issue on the compression lock because, cutting path is on the opposite side. What can happen is that because the notch right here for your finger, it's like this, you're gonna be naturally pinching the lock like in this position, right? So like center to this cutout. So you're gonna pinch this, and as you pinch that, your finger, the flash of your fingertip is gonna slide down right there. Therefore, when the blade is gonna be closing, you have this part, like the jimping on the side of the blade, just hitting your finger and preventing, therefore, the blade from closing. There you see? So it doesn't close unless you keep your finger a little bit in this to the right. So not here, but right here. So you just pinch it right there, and the blade just closes. So you can release the lock, and the blade is gonna stay in place. So just keep that in mind. This is a different mechanism than your regular frame lock, but nonetheless like very safe and very secure. This is a really well made knife made in US, in Colorado. As you can see, they use construction is quite simple. You have these 3 screws and your lanyard tube holding the 2 scales in place. This is your pivot, of course. This is using a T10 bit. These are T8, and for your pocket clip right here, you're gonna have a T6. So you're gonna need 3 bits to fully disassemble this one. Disassembly, this guy will void the warranty, and if you need to swap scales, you're gonna have to spend quite some time getting this lanyard tube out of the way because it's like jammed in like pretty, seriously. You're gonna need to do some work to get this out, and you need to be careful in order not to bend the liners right here. So just keep that in mind as well. The pivot is not captive, so it might rotate, if you don't use like 2 screwdrivers, one on each side. As you can see, there's no backspacer in the back. It's an open construction with, the lanyard tube right here and just a standoff over there. You have like, some jimping over here and some jimping over there. We're gonna talk about that later. You have very, very little chamfering all around. It's not like super smooth, but it's not like sharp. As you can see, they just milled out a little bit to round the edge, a little bit. You've got this nice line over here. Okay, this serves like a finger groove, like so for the handle. It's shaped ergonomically nice. So overall the design is a classic. You can recognize this like from a mile away. This is also ambidextrous because as you can see, you have 4 spaces that you can install your pocket clip. So tip up, tip down, left or right side. So you have all the 4 options in the same scales. This flexibility, I think, detracts a little bit from the cleanliness of the design, because you're gonna have like 3, 6, 9 holes in your scales, unless you buy some other screws, and you're gonna clutter even more the design. That's my opinion. These scales are made of G10, so very solid, very, very sturdy. You can buy, aftermarket scales made out of copper, titanium, carbon fiber, anything. It's made for this knife because it's really, really popular. You've got like full liners, and they're not just like partial. They just extends up to this point. So pretty solid construction. And centering, it's spot on, beautifully centered. Of course, you've got your Spidey hole over here, to deploy the blade. And let's see how this guy looks in the open position, because as you can see, it is an attractive knife. I like the design. It's very, very popular. The only thing it's striking me, it's the handle and blade ratio, because as you can see, like the handle is quite important, and the blade length, it's not as you feel that they could have packed a little bit more blade into this one, because if you can see, the tip just stops right there. So you have this chunk of handle just not holding any blade in place. This is gonna reflect like in the ergonomic of the handle, because of course this big handle is gonna give you like great grip, but at the same time you're gonna the trade-off is that you're gonna have a shorter blade. Like for example, if you compare this with your like Sebenza right over here, the handle, it's the same, but as you can see, the cutting edge, it's more. You see? A little bit more. So it's a feature of the PM2. Like, as you can see, your PM3 as well displays like a very similar blade handle ratio. The steel here is S110V, so really, really good steel. It's an upgrade compared to the S30V, which is still good, but this is better for edge retention. And the blade has a very distinctive profile. You have this straight line up here with a nice curve up here, like very, very pronounced. And this is your thumb ramp with this nice jimping over here, which is like just like ideal for your thumb. It's just like your thumb just falls in place right there. You've got a very, very short, like straight edge up to here, and then just full belly up to there in this pretty, pretty nice full flat grind. As you can see, the grind is full flat, It's not hollow. There's no swedge, you know, there's no chamfering going on. The tip, it's pretty, you know, it's thick, but also at the end it's quite thin. So you can pry, you know, not too crazy, but it's still like it feels sturdy. You have like your plunge grind over here. As you can see, it's nicely designed, you know, which extends up top of your Spidey hole. I mean, overall, the blade profile, it's a classic. It's very interesting and useful. Your edge is quite symmetric on both sides, as you can see, and the stock is not the thinnest, but it's relatively thin. So it is a pretty good slicer. As I said, you know, there's not really like any crowning going on the spine over here. You have no sharpening choil right there. There's no finger choil in the blade, but there's like a kind of finger choil over here, as you can see. So you cannot choke up with your finger on the blade, but it's going to be like using this side of the handle and this side of the blade. And yeah, so also something that I'm not really a fan of is the billboarding on the blade. You've got this Spyderco logo, which is all right. You have the steel, the brand, you have the factory location, and you have other logos going on. So it's a little bit busy. It's not like insanely distracting or ugly, but yeah, it's there. So let's hear some noises, because this knife is making like a peculiar noise when you open. It's like this. So it's interesting. It's a little bit on the anonymous side. You know, it's not like very distinctive. It's not a unique sound. It's like you've heard this one in like from other knives. But it's a good sound, but it's not the best. It's interesting, but it's like, it's not like a distinctive thwack that you say, oh yeah, that's like I can recognize immediately the sound, the knife from the sound. So it's of course silent during the action. It's running on washers, and it's very silent. If you close with your two hands, it's very, very subtle. But this one being a compression lock and the blade is basically like free falling, if you let the blade fall, you know, it's gonna hit the stop pin right here and it's gonna make this noise, which is very pleasant. So if you, of course, don't jam your finger like too up high, but just keep it a little bit low, you see, it can also bounce depending on the angle you're gonna keep the handle. All right. So if you keep it like this, and if you just release it at the right time, you can just snap the blade in place, like closed, like this, and you're gonna have a very nice sound. It's unobtrusive and also pleasant. Let's see some feelings you're gonna receive by holding the knife, because this handle has no hot spots. Like there's a little bit of, you know, a little bit here. I would have liked like maybe a little bit more like rounded off like that, but no sharp edges. The grip is pretty solid, and I mean the blade is, there's no blade play, vertical, horizontal. The compression lock is just working beautifully. You know, very, very nice. What I truly appreciate about this one is like the design over here and over here, because it's beautifully designed. You can hold the knife like this, and as I said, you know, the thumb is gonna naturally fall in this place. It just feels beautiful because, you know, thumb ramp goes up, so it prevents your thumb to go in this direction. Then you can push and apply even more force. But if you choke it like this, you're gonna have force up here pushing this way, and you're gonna have precision because this is gonna choke up. And this, I mean, guys, come on, look at this. The index just falls like that, and thumb, it just falls like there. So this is the natural holding position for precision carving work, because you're gonna be able to just, you know, weave your blade through the carving you're gonna do. So that is just a beautiful sensation of absolute control you're gonna have over this blade. So beautiful choke up feeling over here because of the thumb ramp and this finger choil down here. Fit and finish is pretty good, especially if you consider the price of this knife. As a overall good texture, this is like good quality G10. It feels nice in the hand, has a little bit of grip. It's interesting. So it's not like gonna shred anything in your pocket, but it's gonna give you some grip and traction, even if, you know, the handle is gonna be oily or wet. The weight, it's quite light. You know, it's, you know, G10, so it's not like brass or copper or anything like that. So it's gonna feel quite light in the hand, but at the same time, you know, giving back you some solidity, really good solidity feeling. You can also use a reverse grip like this, and your thumb is gonna fall in this place over here. There's no jimping on the back, only up here and up here, but nonetheless, it's gonna be a good reverse grip. Of course, you know, we said the clip is reversible. This is just like a deep carry pocket clip. It's not the factory one, but regardless, you can install it like in 4 position, tip up, tip down, right, left carry. So everybody's gonna be happy. And yeah, it has a good retention, you know, with a nice ramp. So pretty functional pocket clip. When you open the knife, you can basically choose to open like with 2 hands, of course, like pinching like this, and it's gonna be like nice and slow. Or you can just do your thumb flick, or you can do the Spidey flick with your middle finger. So you have like at least three opening methods you can choose, and any of them are going to be really smooth, because this knife is very smooth. This is like running on washers, okay? And it's also something that I really like is that the tip of the blade is pretty nicely recessed down, so there's no way you're gonna be able to touch it. It's very buried down deep. As we said, you know, they lost this area here, but I mean, the tip is buried down there, so you're not gonna be, don't have to worry to, you know, to touch that. What else? Like when you close, I mean, the detent right over here, there's a detent ball, which it gives like a nice, it's nicely dialed in. So not on the light side, not on the strong side. So it's perfectly dialed in, and you're gonna be able to just flick the knife like a boss. So beautiful, beautiful sensation in the opening. When you close the blade, you know, as we said, you need to pinch in the right position. Otherwise, you're gonna have this blade just staying like this. So that's not optimal. And you know, you have just to make sure you're gonna pinch a little bit further down. The blade, of course, when you unlock the compression lock, it just falls like attracted by the gravity, and just rotate the handle, and the blade is gonna just fall shut with a pretty nice guillotine effect. And you know, also like a nice suction, magnetic kind of feel, not too high, but from here. So, but it's nice. So overall, I mean, this is a pretty fun knife to fidget with, because you know, it's a classic. You know, it's super smooth. It's running on washer. The pivot is solid construction. It's great. So I can say that I can recommend this one to anyone. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned.